Shanti. Everyone must have been absorbing special vibrations of the 18th of January throughout the day and the night, and this whole month is special attention. And Baba gave this homework, Manjit. And so we must think about what it means to be the one who is the master of the mind. Today, Baba's talking about everything has to be done internally and externally together in balance. And so doing everything in Baba's remembrance while doing physical activities, that is, performing the role. So this is 19th of January. And the essence is, sweet children, keep your focus of attention, the yoga of the intellect, connected in yoga with the One Father while you are engaged in various activities, work, and so on. This is the true pilgrimage. Do not be tired of this pilgrimage. Of course, there will be resistance, but keep doing it. Keep resisting the resistance. And the question is, what kind of power do you need in Brahman life to make progress? This is a power that doesn't get described very often. But the answer is the power of blessings of many souls. What is that? It's a very important energy. And if you are serving people, enabling them to be close to God, enabling them to handle the challenges of their life, then they respond to that with an energy, and that energy is called blessings. Dadi Prakashmani used to speak about this quite a lot, that her situation, her ability to fulfill her role was partly because of her personal efforts and partly because of the power of blessings of many souls. So in order to achieve the blessings of many souls, you have to do action which produces that consequence. So the more you benefit others by giving them the jewels of knowledge that you receive from the Father, the more blessings you will receive from those souls. Baba advises you children that children, if you have money, continue to open centers. Open a hospital come university. Now we have pretty much virtual centers. And how many people can listen to the Murli is more than can fit in the classroom. So this is a new kind of hospital come university, center in the cloud. They show angels in clouds, right? And but they're not usually shown sitting in a school, but they usually are shown playing instruments. You see, they're playing harp and playing trumpet. These are the Christian images, but they're in clouds. So you will receive blessings from whoever receives benefit in the center that you open. And the song is, "Traveler of the night, do not become tired. The destination of the morning is not far. Om Shanti." The meaning of the song should naturally enter the intellects of you children. You naturally get a sense of what it means when you hear it. Mind and intellect operate by association. We are spirits who are traveling at the moment. The souls must go to God the Father. It would not be said that embodied people go to God, but the embodied people must leave their bodies and return to the home of light. When someone dies, people say that he has gone to paradise. And you know that everyone actually takes rebirth according to their good or bad sanskaras. You have a burden of sins on your head because of negative sanskaras. So what is this burden? It's a pressure to repeat the negative sanskar. And the resistance that you have to resist and not get tired of is this effort to not come under the force, the pressure to act according to your negative sanskaras. So this burden or this pressure has accumulated from many births as well as from this birth. So these sins, that is this pressure, has to be burned away with the power of yoga, so neutralized. Baba uses the word burn because there's a connection between the energy of yoga, so energy, and then the energy of the pressure of negative karma. So when you have good yoga, your energy is stronger than the energy of negative karma, and that's how it neutralizes it. When you sit on the pyre of lust, then you become sinful souls. How does that work? That any lust-based activity actually drains your spiritual power. So then you don't have any power to resist your other negative sanskaras because all your power is gone. And you have to build it up again, which takes a lot of time. So by sitting on the pyre of lust, you have become sinful souls. That's weak. And the sins that have accumulated have to be burned away in the fire of yoga. So one thing is when you operate on the base of lust, it takes away your energy. Secondly, you perform negative karma, which two things you have to resist. So a lot of energy of yoga is needed to resist two forces. You Brahman children know that you are travelers. So while living at home with your family, doing your business, your focus of attention is to connect your yoga with the Father. And so you are on a pilgrimage. You are traveling from one state of being to another. Do not become tired. It's hard work. Don't become tired. How do you keep up in a marathon? It's a marathon. You have to have a pace that's sustainable. And this marathon is not how many kilometers, 45 or something? No, it is miles and miles and miles and miles, whole life. A lot of effort is required. Effort means put yourself first. In priority, put yourself first. Otherwise, you wouldn't make it. Knowledge is very easy, very clear. And there is a lot of praise of the ancient yoga of Bharat. But those who recite the Gita never say that the yoga was taught by Shiv Baba. In the Gita, they show images of Krishna sitting and speaking in the chariot on the battlefield to Arjuna alone, but it is not correct. This is a process of changing from an ordinary vice-based human into a deity, from a mortal to an immortal. There is definitely the Pandav army, and it is the Pandav army that receives knowledge. And it is the Pandavpati, the father of the Pandavs, who gives it. But people don't know anything. As you go further, many people will come to understand and accept that the God of the Gita truly gave this knowledge 5,000 years ago, but they do not know who gave it at this time. They do not know the duration of the cycle, and they have their own opinions. It's not really opinions, but there are different streams of ideas and that are common in Hinduism, but it's not one stream, it's several streams. So they adopt one or another of those streams. They have created the Gandhi Gita, the Tagore Gita. So these are books where they put the Gita and then the commentaries or the interpretations according to Gandhi, the interpretation according to Tagore. But all of them agree that it is Krishna, the God, who spoke to Arjuna, and that was during a war. But in fact, there's no question of war. For you, it's a question of the power of yoga. So they talk of a war, and they also show Ram of Ramchandra of the Moon dynasty carrying a bow and arrow. But this is symbolic for the arrow of knowledge. They show him with that symbol as a symbol that he failed. So that means that not as Ram did he fail, but in the confluence age, there are those who succeed and those who fail. And Baba talks about you are warriors, underground warriors or spiritual warriors, and there are two ways to fight. One way is you fight knowing that you win, and the other way is to fight trying to win. And there's quite a difference between those two. And when you fight trying to win, it means you're not fighting understanding the nature of the war. And what that comes practically is, people keep on trying to change their old sanskaras, right? So that never succeeds. never has, never will. So why would we do that? What does succeed is when you increase your yoga, because that means you have greater energy than the energy of the negative sanskaras. But if you focus your attention on trying to overcome a negative sanskara, you're actually giving it power. And so this is the Ram stage. And it's not necessary to do that. But a lot of people don't get it. So the picture of silver-aged Ram and Sita also has to be shown. You remember Baba talked about 3 dharmas, Brahman, deity, and Kshatriya. So you have the option. You have to choose. Do you want to fight to lose or fight to win? Up to you. There are different clans, different castes, the Sun dynasty and the Moon dynasty. It is not written in the Gita that God spoke the Gita and established the Sun and Moon dynasty kingdoms. It's not there. The Gita is definitely the scripture of the Adi Sanatan Devi Devta Dharma, the original eternal deity civilization Dharma. Now they call themselves Hindus. They cannot say that they are of the deity Dharma, because Dharma means what you are. And if you're not a deity, then you can't say that you're a deity. And this is because they are impure. There is a saying, Maya is false, the body is false, and the world is false. And this saying is right, but then you have to know what it means. So Maya is when you take something unreal to be real, and you take your body to be you, and then your perception of the world is based on deception. And so your karma is according to that. And so everything is not real because of that. So this is why it is a correct statement. So you have to think about that. Those who are false would live in a world of falsehood. What is really false about the world is people are very focused on appearances, looking good syndrome, and doing everything on the basis of how it seems and not on the basis of what it is. That means incorrect karma. So the one who establishes the world of truth tells you the truth. So your perception according to the soul, your action according to the principles of the laws of karma, then everything will be balanced. Bharat, which was worship-worthy, has now become a worshipper. They worship the worship-worthy ones who lived in the past. And the clan, the caste of those who were worship-worthy has now become the worshippers. And there is the expression, the self-same one is worship-worthy and the self-same one is a worshipper. And they usually think that applies to God. So there used to be the dynasty of the worship-worthy deities. And now, at the time of the Iron Age, it is the dynasty of worshippers, which is called Shudras. So there are the Sun dynasty and Moon dynasty clans. You children have to explain that Bharat was like that. And the images from the Golden Age, they're there. So images are memorials. So the images prove that India was not populated by dinosaurs. This is the latest scientific discovery. But it wasn't dinosaurs, it was deities. Ancient deities, not ancient lizards. Dinosaur is a large lizard, right? Or large animals. When there was less people, the animals could grow to large size, like big sea creatures, very big ones. So there are the images of the Golden Age. And in the Golden Age, Bharat was very, very wealthy. No one knows the unlimited history and geography. It is essential to explain the castes, Brahman, deity, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, the changes. We Brahmins are the highest caste. This is called the new elevated caste. When people arrange marriages, they look for someone who is of the same caste. Your caste is the most elevated. Although there are many of those Lokic Brahmins in the world, it is at the confluence age when the children of Brahma are the Brahmin caste. People don't know that. This is something new. Some people think that we have created our own new Gita. But you children know that the Father himself is speaking the original Gita and teaching you Raj Yoga. And once again, we are becoming deities. No one else can say that they are establishing a kingdom. Even we would never get the idea to establish a kingdom, right? And Shiv Baba's idea. Those people just sit and relate stories of those who existed in the past. And here we tell the praise only of the Gita. And this is why people think that we believe in the Gita only. Now, you know that refers to the Gita of the path of devotion. But now you are listening to the original Gita directly from the one who spoke it. They speak about the army of monkeys. So this is again a reference to Ram and the Ramayana, who Ram had taken an army of monkeys to go and fight against Ravan. Then there is the image of the three monkeys. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. But you would not say that this refers to monkeys. It surely refers to people. Monkeys don't talk, right? So although people have faces like human beings, their characters are like monkeys. I don't know if you've come across monkeys in India. They are, if you are holding anything in your hand that looks edible to them, they'll come and attack you and take it. So they have visible all the vices, violence, lust, greed, attachment. So this is why monkeys are used as a symbol for that. So it is said to the human monkeys, hear no evil, close your ears. You children know that this is an old body. What is the evil that you shouldn't hear? It's incorrect spiritual knowledge. So you children know that this is an old body and that something or another will happen to it. This goes wrong and that goes wrong. When a man's wife dies, he would say, my old shoe has gone. They do say that. And so he will buy another one. So this is an expression that lets you know the attitude towards women in the patriarchal society. It's a piece of leather to be used. They will say it, but they won't get the very nice way to look at another human being, because they don't think of a woman as a person. They think of a woman as an object, just as a shoe is an object. So all this perspective slowly shifts, very slowly. Shiv Baba wants an old shoe. He has to enter into the body of Brahma, which is made of leather. And what do you do with shoes? You go inside them. So Shiv Baba goes inside the old Tamil Pradhan body of Brahma, which is very, very difficult to do when you're a pure soul. You can't go in an impure body. But Shiv Baba, part of Shiv Baba's power is the power to be completely unaffected by matter. Well, people don't quite realize that. So Shiv Baba wants an old shoe. He's not going to enter a new shoe. So Krishna is a new shoe. It's a new body from the golden age, Sato Pradhan. Shiv Baba does not come in a new shoe. So a new shoe is a new body. But the one, the soul, who was the newest of all, the soul in the body of Krishna, has now become the oldest. And Baba says, this one is the number one to take 84 births. So the first thing when Shiv Baba started talking to Brahma Baba, the first thing he had to say is, you don't know who you are. You are the soul of Krishna. Huh? To Mama, you are the soul of Radhe, Lakshmi. That's a very, very heavy piece of information that they had to hold and become. And then he says, same applies to you. So the one who is this one is the number one to take 84 births, the one who is the number one pure soul, full with all virtues, complete, viceless, has to become impure. Only then can he become pure again. So you cannot meet God unless you become completely impure and go to hell. You cannot, and this is a law, you cannot remember me unless you're in a very bad situation. And this is so difficult for people to compute, because the ideas people get through the religions are very different, you know. There is an account of 84 births. So the self-same one is worship-worthy, and the self-same one is a worshipper. So it doesn't apply to God, applies to the soul. When Shri Narayan becomes a worshipper, then he sits and worships the image of Narayan. You worship your own former self. It is a wonder. Even in his last birth, this Dada Lekraj used to worship Lakshmi and Narayan. And one famous story about Brahma Baba is that he got a beautiful picture of Narayan, but it had Lakshmi massaging Narayan's feet. So he got the artist to paint her out, because you can't have Lakshmi, the goddess, the empress of the world, massaging her husband's feet. That's completely inappropriate. So who created those pictures and when? It would have been in the Iron Age. And why did they do that? to give a message to women that this is how you have to be in relationship with your husband. You have to be a servant. And so this created the imbalance between the males and females. So this picture of Lakshmi and Narayan, they're standing next to each other in equal position. So when he saw the picture of Lakshmi massaging Narayan's feet like a servant, he changed that. So he got the artist to remove Lakshmi's image from the picture, and he just had the picture of Narayan. From being a worshipper, the self-same soul becomes worthy of worship, and the same applies to you. This would not apply to only just one person. Children who are born in the golden age would be princes and princesses. That means his children would be a prince and a princess. Not all children. Every child is according to the position of their parents. So the Father is now decorating you children in order to take you back home. And you know that you are becoming masters of heaven. So your aim is to become Lakshmi and Narayan. You may or may not become Lakshmi and Narayan, but you will take rebirth in the golden age. The establishment is getting done at this time. And you know that there truly was an unshakable, constant kingdom, stable, steady kingdom of peace and happiness, prosperity. So you can explain that you are studying Raj Yoga practically. So if you look at this statement, an unshakable, stable, steady kingdom, the entire history of the Iron Age in India is of destruction of one kingdom by another king who came and took over and then destroy everyone, and then someone else came along, destroy everyone, and lots of fighting between kings and invaders from outside India. So to have a constant, stable, steady kingdom is very extraordinary. You can explain to anyone that you are studying Raj Yoga practically. Some people say that they went to some particular guru and experienced a lot of peace, but still it's temporary, short-lived peace. Maybe 10 or 20 people could experience that from that guru. But here, it's a matter of the entire world. Only in the golden age can there be true peace. So true peace because one civilization, no differences of concepts. The children who are sensible are making effort exactly as they did in the previous cycle. So sensible doesn't mean sensible, but it means samajhdar. It means you who understand this knowledge, you know that your effort is the same as the effort that you made in the previous cycle. When some of the new gopikas received the knowledge while sitting at home, the mercury of their happiness rises. When you get Baba's message, you understand it, very happy. So Baba's talking about an event that just happened. Yesterday, a couple came to meet Baba, and Baba explained to them, children, will you not claim your unlimited inheritance from the Father? You have been choking in hell for half the cycle, and you became unhappy. Now, can you not renounce poison for just one birth? Will you not become pure in order to become the masters of heaven? So they said, well, that's very difficult. And then Baba said, well, a worldly Brahmin tied you in the bond of marriage so that you could sit on the pyre of lust. But now, Brahma himself is saying, sit on the pyre of knowledge and become an emperor and empress of heaven. And so they said, well, you will have to help us. And Baba said, if you continue to remember Sheep Baba, you will definitely receive help. And then the husband said, yes, I will definitely remember him. And he accepted a Rakhi. And then Baba put a ring with Sheep Baba's symbol on each of them. So Baba explained to them, this is Bap and this is Dada, Sheep Baba, Brahma Dada. And the unlimited father says, children, if you do not become pure, you would not be able to go to heaven and go and live there. You have to have the sanskara. So this last birth, become pure in this last birth. Otherwise, you will lose the kingdom. Can you not become pure for this short time? Baba is decorating you with knowledge and yoga, and you then become like Lakshmi and Narayan. If you do not listen to the Father, it would be understood that there is no greater fool in the world than you. You recognize Baba, you get it, and then you go against it. That's a big fool. One type are limited fools, and the other are unlimited fools. Those who spoil the atmosphere cannot sit here. So if you go against Baba's direction for purity, it disturbs the atmosphere. And this refers to vibration. And you have to be very yogi to feel that difference in vibration, whether they're, the purpose of a person is one thing or another. And if the purpose is not clean, you'll feel it in the atmosphere. And so if somebody knows you have to be pure, but you're not pure, and you come there, means there's an unclean purpose, a purpose to trash God, basically. So that will be felt in the atmosphere. And so Baba says, don't have that. So those who are unclean and impure are not allowed to sit in the gathering of swans. So swans means those who have the intellect which can detect these things. So you want to be the swan who creates the atmosphere but also feels the atmosphere. And then when everything is as it should be, you can move. If it's mixed, you can't get anything done. So the Father decorates you so much and makes you become like Lakshmi and Narayan, and then Maya makes you completely impoverished and worthless. Even if a person has 5 million, but he's not really worth a penny because all that wealth is going to be burned. So the true income, the income that you carry with yourself, is the income that you get from pure karma and yoga. So Baba advises you, children, continue to open centers, sit and decorate human beings, means give them the knowledge and yoga and make them in their power, make them beautiful, make them in that resonance, all this. But those who open universities come hospitals have to be good. That means you have to walk your talk so that you can then explain to others. Otherwise, some people, they may have money, so they open and then give to somebody else to sit there and explain. And the person who opened it, who funded it, would then also become filled with blessings from those who go there. So there's also a powerful energy. And that would be a benefit for them for 21 births. So is there anyone who would not follow the Father's Srimat, knowing that you get a benefit for 21 births by doing that? You should follow the Father's Srimat at every step. Of course, there will be obstacles. The gopikas who are in bondage will be assaulted. And so you have to be fearless. The praise of the Father is nirvair, nirbhay. This is in the Sikh religion. He's fearless and he has no enemies, no hatred. We do not have any animosity for anyone. The Father decorates you, and so you should accept his service. He gives you so much, so what he wants you to do, do that. But why wouldn't we follow your Shrimat? There is much benefit for us in doing this, and then our children, etc., after us will also benefit. Show everyone the path to go on the true pilgrimage. If there is any violence, the innocent mothers who don't have money, they have to tolerate it because they're financially dependent on your abuser. So in domestic violence, this is the problem. So the culture says women don't have a right to earn their own money, which forces them to be dependent on someone who can easily be an abuser. So if they don't accept you, your practices, you can understand that they do not belong to your clan. You do have to make effort. There may be someone who does belong to our clan and who may even become worthy of becoming a subject. So that means they're cooperative with their wives who are in Gyan. So they will become subject at least. So even if you make someone a subject, it is good. The subjects have to be created as well. So what is a subject? Someone who's heard the knowledge, but they don't really do anything with it. They don't create a position. So once you hear the knowledge, you're a subject already. But then create status all the way up to Emperor of the world, up to you. No one apart from the Father can carry out this work of transforming ordinary mortals into the immortals, the deities. You Brahmins are the highest on high. And those people, deities, are lower. The other people who are not Brahmins, they are storks. And you are swans. And so there will definitely be conflict. There will be violence. You will be assaulted. Maya, Ravan has ruined everyone. And the Father comes and makes you prosperous. So when you do bad karma, you'll also lose all your prosperity. So Baba makes you solvent, that means wealthy. Later, you will have your sovereignty. That means later your ways will be the dominant ones. Right now, not. Bharat becomes prosperous after the forthcoming Great War. But people do not know that Bharat becomes heaven after the great, extremely violent war. You children now have to make very good effort, and your lectures also have to be refined. Blow the conch shell. Otherwise, it would be said you do not have a conch shell. When do they blow conch shells? Is before the war. So and every warrior has their own sound. That's symbolic for every BK who talks and speaks the knowledge doing their own way. So although you may be living as a lotus and you may have the discus, but if you don't have a conch shell, you can't become Vishnu. You have to be able to speak. Baba says, I love the knowledgeable souls. It's also a quote from the Gita. So if you study the knowledge and you can't speak it, and he will think that you haven't understood it. Gopikas also become very intoxicated from the sound of the flute. But in fact, Krishna did not play the flute. This is your last birth and the last birth of Shri Krishna, who has been around the cycle, and the soul of Krishna is now receiving the knowledge. You know that this world is old and you have to separate yourself from it. You are now becoming the masters of the new world, and so you divorce the old world before the destruction takes place. Divorce in the sense that you're no longer married to the ways of the old world. Now you are married to the ways of Shiv Baba. If you do not divorce the ways of the old world, then you will not be able to have yoga with the new world. So yoga means focus of attention, and you take that on as that's real, and this is your yoga. You have experienced sorrow in the world of Ravan for 63 births. So now divorce it. Divorce everything, including your own bodies. It means don't be under their influence. Then only you souls will come to me. Acha. To the sweetest, beloved, long lost and now found children, love, remembrance, and good morning from the mother, the father, Bap Dada, and the spiritual father says namaste to the spiritual children. The spiritual children say namaste to the spiritual father. So the essence for dharana, become jnani to atma, a knowledgeable soul, and blow the conch shell. Teach everyone the true pilgrimage and create your subjects. Creating your subjects doesn't mean creating slaves. It means create people and inspire them to build their status, not just remain subjects. But if somebody doesn't, then there's nothing you can do. But it takes all kinds to make a world, all levels. And that's how it is in the Golden Age. Secondly, remove the old world from your intellect and connect your intellect in yoga with the new world. Become fearless and free from animosity, hatred. Nirvair, nirbhay. People are easily afraid. Huh? So come into your power, and then you can confront anything that may bring you under its influence through fear, terror. Maya comes be attraction and terror. So the blessing is, may you be free from bondage and experience the Avyak stage by staying beyond the attraction of corporeal feelings. So corporeal feelings has to do with ego, reactive, or you put yourself down. Both of those are not good. To be free from bondage while staying in your household, do not be trapped in any relationship or by your own body or physical possessions, even in your thoughts. It means your mind goes to that mentality. Let no bondage attract you even in your thoughts, because if it comes in your thoughts, then it would be put into action. So what you're thinking about, you will do. If a thought arises and you don't sustain it, you won't do. So therefore, while coming into gross consciousness, do not be attracted by it. Then only you will be able to experience the detached, loving, Avyak stage. So what it means is, don't go into gross consciousness, because when you go into gross consciousness, the magnetism of matter and Maya is strong. So stay above gross consciousness and then detached and loving. Loving doesn't mean you feel lovey-dovey about things that are not good. That's not what it means. Because if you do that, you'll get trapped. Loving means that you are, you understand they're under another influence, and so you're not going to blame, but you're that which would otherwise blame someone, it goes straight to the Maya. You can understand what that negative influence is, and you neutralize that. Otherwise, if you just, condone what they're doing, that will trap you just as much. The slogan, in order to experience the Father's support, let go of the support of limited shores. So limited shores refers to your family and any systems of the world which promise you that they will support you. So the society, conventional society, insurance companies, property, all the things that you rely on, they won't, they will deceive you in the end. Shanti. Experience the stage of being merged in love. Always remain merged and lost in God's love. Not too lost. And then the sparkle and intoxication on your face and the rays of experience will be so powerful that not only will no problem come to you, but no problem will be able to come and confront you. And you will not experience labor of dealing with it. So lost in God's love is, this word lost is not really the right word. It's more like merged. Because when you're totally in that, then you are inaccessible for these problems. And so if you're inaccessible, you can't be confronted by it because you've got too many boundaries. And hard work means struggling. So you only struggle if you're accessible and it breaks through your boundaries. So, you know how sometimes Baba equates Maya with evil spirits. And if there's an evil spirit that wants to take possession of you, then they do it when you're asleep because you can't defend yourself. And so if you are asleep in the sense of God in your consciousness, then Maya can get through because you have to guard your boundaries. Otherwise, if you're off guard, then there are no boundaries. It goes right in, invades you, and takes possession and controls you. So, are you afraid of ghosts?
Done enough battle with them to know where how to keep my boundaries.
No, because there are. And, you know, because of the religions and stories and so on, people believe that ghosts have a lot of power. But they're just people who couldn't get bodies. And sometimes they're used by people to get their work done. And so then they will be sent to you to disturb you by someone who wants to disturb you using that system. And for that, you have to be pretty strong and pure. And the wonder is that when you're a Brahmin who is all the time in connection with Baba, then even if you are asleep, as soon as that vibration comes along, even if you're asleep, you will react and you will confront and you will immediately connect with Baba, and that creates a total boundary, and the ghost cannot get through. So whether it's that kind of ghost or just a wandering, passing by spirit who sees, I could take possession of this vulnerable person who's asleep all the time, or if it's been sent by somebody to disturb you, either way, when your yoga is strong, or if it's just a vice which comes along to take over, if your yoga is strong, that energy of Baba's remembrance is a barrier and can't come in. And so knowing about yoga is also connected with knowing about these energy barriers. So we have to create these spheres of light around the self. You remember Baba had been quite explicit about that in some Avyakt Murlis. And you generate an aura around yourself. And you know that the Shiva Lingam is an oval form, but Shiv Baba is actually a point. So this oval form, which is around the point, is like a barrier. The size of the aura of the light has an edge, and you can calculate how big is the aura. And so when your yoga is very strong and your aura is very big and impenetrable, if your aura is full of holes, then it's very penetrable and not a very effective boundary. So at the present time, there's lots of negative energy around, right? And Baba was talking in the Murli today, especially about women who are in abusive marriages and in a society which doesn't allow divorce. Or if you do have divorce, it will give you a hard time. Divorced women are said to be, difficult to get married again. And the society doesn't allow that woman to function effectively, doesn't honor that person. A divorced woman is punished by the society, even though she divorced because her husband was an abuser. But the society has got this idea that a woman is nothing more important than a shoe. So what do you do with shoes? You leave them outside. You tread on them all the time. All day long, you're walking on your shoe. And so this mentality, this imagery, this all of these ways of thinking have created this incredible polarization between males and females. And in the same way, the concern about skin color has created a similar polarization. And one thing that we have heard is that during the time of the COVID pandemic, those who are very wealthy multiplied their wealth minimum double. And who went below the poverty line, very, very many people. And so this circumstance of the pandemic has created a very dangerous imbalance between the wealthy and the poor. And when you get an imbalance like that, it brings on conflict, social conflict. And also this volcano which blew yesterday, day before, this was a caldera. And it wasn't an ordinary volcano. The mouth of the volcano was 6 kilometers wide, which is very, very wide for a volcano. And it destroyed a landmass, was completely vanished from the face of the earth, the size of Los Angeles. I mean, it's all of LA. So that was a very unusually big volcanic explosion, which didn't do that much damage. But if a caldera goes in another part of the world, it can do big damage. And calderas don't normally explode. And this one, it was said it explodes maybe after 1,000 years. So it's, I think, quite an important indicator for us that the natural calamities are really moving quite quickly. 10 megatons more powerful than the nuclear bomb. So that's very big. And it's very hard for us to think about what does a megaton feel like, or 10 megatons, It's like if you think about you have $1 million or $1 trillion, when you don't have any money, it's very hard for you to see the difference between 1,000,000 and 1,000,000,000. All of it is way out of range. So in the same way with these natural calamities, the media can hype it up or hype it down. This one was hyped down quite a lot. And of course, it didn't do damage of a type that it could do. Like, for example, in the Mediterranean, there's a caldera. And if it goes, all Europe and North Africa goes. Boom. In a matter of minutes. So time is short, and if we say that these polarizations are there, these activities of change are accelerating, then I think it also means that our way of practicing Raj Yoga has to also be correspondingly on a much higher level. What do you think? And so the challenge is to understand the knowledge in such a way that you can act on it, such that your the energy of your negative karma, which Baba calls burden of sin, people think of a burden of sin as some sort of backpack, 50 kilos. So, okay, if you have a 50 kilos backpack and you're walking, it's going to make you tired. And if you have that for your whole life, it's going to distort your skeleton and put pressure on bones and muscles to limit your capacity to function normally. And you're also getting old, which means you're getting weak. And then the weight of this backpack is going to feel more heavy. And when the military are training and carrying these very heavy backpacks, some of them get really badly damaged because it's not really good for a body to have that. Then you make a comparison with a weight on the soul, which is pressuring you and preventing you from being who you are. And if you don't get it, then you think that the pressure is who you are. So you don't resist it. Or you say, we can't resist it, that's who I am. So he makes us clear that this sin is not something that you feel guilty about, because that's another pressure. So when the religious people say, oh, you did some bad things, so therefore you should feel worse about it, and that will somehow relieve the pressure, it's completely the opposite of what's needed. Completely the opposite. And many BKs struggling with so-called bad sanskaras are operating from the angle of religion, from the angle of I am not a good person, which creates additional pressure. And there's no way that you can end up as Lakshmi and Narayan if you do it like that. No way. Right? And if you say, well, I will do X number of more hours of meditation and struggle with my negative sanskaras for double the time that I was doing before, what will you end up with? Half the energy. So it may not be very sensible to proceed in that way, because the result is pressure and not sanskara transformation. But sanskara transformation happens when you have identified all the things that create energy. So Baba talked today about blessings as energy. And when you do service that is actually effective, you can tell if it's effective if the result of it is the energy of all these blessings. So if you do service, but it doesn't produce blessings, it wasn't service. So when you think about doing service, you have to calculate in terms of a benefit. Who is getting benefited and what is actually benefit? Does a person, as a result of what you do they get power? Do they get access to God, access to the knowledge so that they can stand on their own feet? Because if they do, they're going to give you blessings. If they don't, you may make a lot of effort, but if they don't get empowered, there's no reason for them to give you blessings. If you do service and people say that was nice, but they're not empowered, they're entertained or something like that, they wouldn't give you blessings. They would just say that was nice. And that's not what you want. You want people to be so clear, so aware, so able to handle their situation that they say, yeah, I got it now. I know what to do. We cannot support people. That's not our job. But to enable people to support themselves by their own connection with Baba, that's very good. They will like that. And this atmosphere, Baba talked about the atmosphere, right? The storks and the swans. So the person who's pure, clean, your motives are really, you're not trying, you don't have any other agenda, right? If you have another agenda, that's called two-face. And a two-faced person, that's not called honest, right? And so you can't really, you can't acquire the capacity to detect negative vibrations if you function with two faces. They cancel each other out. But if you have just one face, pure, this will enable you to detect any interference in the vibration. And this is one of the reasons why Madhuban is called the Hall of Mirrors or the Palace of Mirrors, Shisha Mahal. It's because the energy level there is very, very high. There's a lot of very pure souls meditating, and plus it's God's place. So he's filling it with that power, which means invisible things become visible. So any funny vibration is amplified and you can detect. something wrong here. And then you can be able to read exactly what's wrong. He talks about the eclipse of Maya as a shadow. And in astrological situations, a shadow comes over the moon, right? You get a lunar eclipse, or you can get a solar eclipse. Or sometimes some planets can be eclipsed, but mostly you get lunar eclipse and solar eclipse. So a lunar eclipse is a shadow over your subconscious. And a solar eclipse is a shadow over your overt circumstances. And it is said in Bhakti and often in the Murli that if there's an eclipse, you have to donate. And then the eclipse will be removed. So people accept the idea, but they don't know how it works. But Baba has given a clue in this Murli that you might not be able to just connect with Baba and take energy because some karmic account is there and it's in the way. This happens. And so you can't get through it in the normal way. So what you do is you donate, that is to say, you enable others to be empowered, and then the energy of their blessings will impact that shadow, and then you'll be able to connect back again with Baba. This is very important information, because if you don't know this, you can't take advantage of it. And then this karmic accounts will stop you and prevent you from moving forward, because karmic account is heavy and you have to pay, and you don't have enough wealth of yoga to pay. So it will push you into negative karma, this shadow, this weight. And then instead of carrying on with your journey, you will be deviated, and you will go back into negative karma, bondages, and so on and so forth. But if you know about how to do service to enable yourself to receive blessings, then you'll be able to actually extract yourself from this dark shadow of the pressure of karmic accounts. Did you know this? So it's good to know. Because anytime anything can come up, we don't know what we did. Sometimes people think about the history of the world and how one country does something to another country, or one group of people do something to another group of people. And then there's a motivation of revenge. And you will take revenge on the descendants of those people. But it doesn't mean that the reincarnation is such that you're taking revenge on the right people, because they will not necessarily take reincarnation in that place or in that community. They could go somewhere else. So this is why you have to see the soul. Baba has not given us the duty to take revenge, right? Now I remember Dadi Prakash Mani was talking about this revenge. If somebody did something and they're still alive and you know what they did, and you decide to take revenge on that person, that's comprehensible. But if they died and you're several generations later. This is what happens. You see, revenge is carried from generation to generation to generation. And this is where it becomes really toxic, because you want to take revenge according to a story that's been fed to you, not according to an actual situation where you want to avenge something that happened to you personally. There's a difference. So Daddy was talking about how revenge is a very, very strong emotion and motivation that would deviate you off your spiritual path, because you will create a negative karma unnecessarily in the belief that you're taking revenge. You are actually creating something very negative. So these are quite interesting, deep things to think about. The first time the Gita, the cover of the book with Krishna on it, was about 200 years ago from now. So not very long time ago, but that's when it began. And it was for political reasons, because the people wanted to galvanize the religious people of India to resist the colonial powers. And so they used the figure of Krishna with the discus as a way to explain to the devotees that you could use weapons of violence, even though the principle of the Gita is non-violence, because if they didn't do that, there was no way that the devotees would be able to have any reason. They couldn't find any reason to overthrow the colonial powers. And this was how the religious authorities did it. And so it doesn't have much to do with the knowledge of the Gita, but it's political. That's how it was. But most people don't know this, because obviously they're not going to admit to it.
You know what they say in Hindi, Asuron ke sir kaate. So it is what it is. People got inspired is that cut the head of.
Yeah, because you see, if you are under a colonial power who is oppressive, then you have to find a way to resist that. And Gandhi talked a lot about non-violent, but the people who tried before Gandhi, they were not concerned about non-violent. They wanted violent resistance, but it didn't succeed. To finish about the iconography of the Gita, you see, what people believe, it depends on what they're told, not on necessarily truth. And so the way you can find out historical truth is you have to research. And history is always presented by the people who are the authorities, right? So whoever's the authority of what particular thing, they will tell you a story about that thing according to them. And it may or may not be true. How you can see this clearly demonstrated is the history of the Second World War. It's absolutely different depending on who writes the book. So they will write the book to give you an impression which they want you to have. So the idea of Krishna being the speaker of the Gita was politically motivated in order to make people behave a certain way. And then it stayed. And then they didn't go back to what it was before. And so then Shiv Baba has to come along and say, there's actually no evidence at all for Krishna being the speaker of the Gita. And then he gives the evidence why he's not the speaker of the Gita. And the people who have to give evidence for Krishna being the speaker of the Gita don't have any evidence. And this is why it's very interesting that Baba says a time will come when this will go to court. And when you want to establish something, whether it's true or not, you go to court and you look at the evidence. And then there is a conclusion based on the evidence presented. And so Baba has said this has to be done. And it hasn't been done yet, but it's predicted. So gathering the evidence is also a good idea. And there was Brother Jagdish did some work on this in the 70s and created a questionnaire to be filled out by the different religious organizations. And much to our surprise, most of the scholars who responded to it said, clearly, Krishna is not the speaker of the Gita. It's a popular, the ordinary people who believe that, but the scholars actually don't. And we thought that the scholars did believe it. So we were surprised about the results of this survey. I know because I was involved in it. And so I think that this thing called popular religion is what people know. And then what the scholars say, the community of scholars know, but the general public doesn't know. And a time will come when this material that Baba is telling us is looked at by the scholars and evaluated. And that will be very different from the evaluation of the general public, naturally. Because what does the public like is what's popular. What kind of little videos go viral? Silly things, mostly, very silly. But serious matters don't go viral because the general public is not very serious. They like trivial things. It's okay. But to actually shift the society, you'd need to deal with thought leaders. You don't know who those people are. But anyway, we move forward slowly and see how it goes. Baba, Om Shanti.